Well, as we've been reporting, the United States Republicans have taken control of the Senate following a landslide victory in the midterm elections. It means that just 6 years after Barack Obama's Democrats emphatically swept to power, the Republican Party now has full control of the Congress and the power in the Senate to pin down the president during his last 2 years in office.
Let's cross now to Tom Switzer, who's in Brisbane for us. He's a research associate with the US Studies Centre at the University of Sydney. Tom, thanks for joining us this evening.
Kimmy, Andrew.
Now, we heard that 6 years ago, the Democrats swept to power. They were coming in on a platform of reforming healthcare, passing a huge stimulus package. What's gone wrong for them?
Well, two things. I think the Republicans have got their act together. You may recall during the course of the last 4 years, the Republican Party has pre-selected several candidates whom Democrats could portray as oddballs and extremists and zealots, and that made it very difficult for Republicans to win easy seats at both the House and the Senate level. So they've pre-selected sensible candidates who held their own on the day. And the other thing to bear in mind on that note is that memories have faded since the government shut down a year ago. People forget these things. The Republicans are trying to have a renewed brand. But the more important thing here is one person and one person alone, and that's Barack Obama. Make no mistake, these midterm elections delivered a sharp rebuke to President Obama. In the parliamentary system, it is a sort of no confidence vote in Barack Obama. And I think that reflects a sense of unease, angst, among Republicans and Democrats about the direction in which the United States is going.
Tom, why is Barack Obama so unpopular? Are you saying this is perhaps, it's more about the incumbency, that perhaps anyone in his position would be unpopular at this point?
Look, on the one hand, there's good reason to be upbeat about the United States under Barack Obama's watch. The unemployment rate has virtually halved on his watch. The federal deficit is coming down. The growth rate, the annual growth rates are about to hit 3% for the first time since 2005. So there's good reason for optimism. Unfortunately, this has been the most sluggish economic recovery since the Great Depression, despite all of the big spending stimulus policies put forward by the Democratic administration. And the fact of the matter is, although there have been a lot of new jobs created, they're MIC jobs, low-wage, part-time jobs. And I think there's a widespread sense, if you look at all the available public polling evidence among Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Liberals, Conservatives, about 75% of the American people believe their country's heading in the wrong direction. They think their country's in serious long-term decline, that the country's off the tracks. And by the way, these sentiments precede Barack Obama. I go back to the Bush era with the Iraq fiasco and also the subprime mortgage crisis that subsequently led to the Great Recession.
Okay, Tom, you mentioned those MIC jobs. Interestingly, a lot of the seats were won by the Republicans in Montana, South Dakota, Arkansas, West Virginia, North Carolina. Talking about this kind of middle America voting, did the Democrats just have it wrong in terms of what they wanted?
Well, many of the Democrat candidates, particularly at the Senate level, went out of their way to distance themselves from Barack Obama. In fact, one Senate Democrat candidate, Alison Grimes in Kentucky, was running against the veteran Republican senator. She had a good chance, and she distanced herself by sporting a shotgun, of all things, in campaign commercials, declaring her love for big coal, and even refusing to answer the question whether she supported Barack Obama in 2012 and 2008. That's how unpopular Barack Obama is, even among Democrats. So, look, the other thing you have to bear in mind is that on Obama's watch, and it's not necessarily his fault, I think it's more systemic problems in the system, but inequality has widened dramatically during the last 6 years, and real household incomes have declined by between 4 and 5%. So in that regard, you can see why so many Americans are upset with the status quo.
And Tom, given the way that this election is stacked up, do you feel as though politics in America is likely to get a lot more fractious? Because you'll have, certainly in the Senate at least, the Democrats will be more liberal, those who've survived, whereas the Republicans have perhaps become more conservative.
Andrew, that's the prevailing wisdom in Washington, that we'll have more gridlock, more partisanship. I think there are grounds for optimism. I mean, the Republicans are now in a position to govern. They've got control of both houses, the House and the Senate. They run the show in Capitol Hill. And the President only has 2 years left before he leaves the White House. So both sides will want to reach some sort of agreements and compromises. I think there's good reason to think that they can see agreement on things like infrastructure, company reform, and also, and this is relevant for an Australian audience, Trans-Pacific Partnership. The reason why the President has not been able to sign or get support from Congress for for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, this 11 to 12 country multinational Asian free trade agreement, which includes Australia, is because the Democrats would not give their own president trade promotion authority because they're worried about labour regulations and environmental conditions. The Republicans are more likely to be free trade, which is why they're more likely to give the president a free hand to negotiate a TPP, which is ultimately in America's interests, it's in Asia's interests, and also in Australia's interests.
Tom, we can't have this discussion without looking, of course, to 2016. From what I understand, potential challenges to Hillary Clinton, should she run, have been cut out. Does that actually mean that this kind of loss to the Democrats, this loss of the Senate, actually could potentially boost her potential for running and doing quite well in 2016?
Kumi, I think, I mean, in all my years, 25 years of following American politics closely, I've never seen a prevailing wisdom so firm, so far out before a presidential election. Hillary Clinton is by far the favourite to win the Democrat nomination and probably at this stage to win the presidential election. The Republicans are leaderless, divided, they're riven by all sorts of problems notwithstanding their success, and it's not altogether clear whom the Republican Party would even look to. Would it be a Tea Partier, an establishment conservative? Would it be a neo-conservative on foreign policy, a non-interventionist on foreign policy? It's not altogether clear. So at this stage, Hillary is the overwhelming favourite, but of course so much can change in 2 years, especially in American politics.
Absolutely. Tom Switzer, it's going to be fascinating how it all pans out. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks Andrew. Kumi.